What if, tomorrow morning, you woke up to breaking news that the entire Amazon rainforest was on fire? Not a small blaze in one corner, not a seasonal burn-off. The whole thing, gone, burning so hot and so fast that even satellites in space could see the glow from orbit. From the ground, the air is so heavy with ash you can taste it. From above, the planet itself looks wounded. The Amazon, the largest rainforest on Earth, home to creatures you've never seen and medicines we haven't even discovered yet. It's been called the lungs of the Earth. But what happens when those lungs stop breathing? If that happened, how would it change your life? How would it change the world? Because if the Amazon goes up in flames, it won't just be the rainforest that burns, it will be our future. Stretching across 9 countries in South America, the Amazon rainforest is so vast that, if it were a country, it would be the 9th largest on Earth. It holds over 390 billion trees, each one silently working every second to pull carbon dioxide from the air and release oxygen back into it. Every breath you take has been touched in some way by this forest. It's home to more than 10% of all known species on the planet. Jaguars stalk silently through the undergrowth. Pink river dolphins glide through muddy waters. Tiny frogs, so poisonous they could stop a human heart, hide among the leaves. And plants that contain chemical compounds powerful enough to treat deadly diseases grow everywhere. Many of these plants haven't even been studied yet. They could hold the cures of tomorrow, but only if they survive today. The Amazon is not just a forest, it is a living climate engine. Its trees pump moisture into the air, creating clouds that drift across continents. This isn't just about rain in Brazil. These clouds bring water to farms in Argentina, influence weather patterns in the United States, and even affect monsoon seasons in Africa. It is the largest carbon sink on land, holding back billions of tons of greenhouse gases from heating up the planet. Without it, the climate would spiral faster toward extremes. Droughts harsher, storms stronger, food scarcer. And for the millions of people who live within it, indigenous tribes who have called the Amazon home for thousands of years, it's not just an ecosystem. It's their supermarket, their pharmacy, their shelter, their sacred ground. The Amazon is their history, their identity, their lifeline. This forest is one of the most important natural systems ever to exist on Earth. And yet, as we speak, it is under threat from chainsaws, bulldozers, and flames. How could something so massive, so ancient, so vital, actually burn to the ground? It wouldn't happen overnight. It would start quietly, almost invisibly. A season of record-breaking heat. Rivers running lower than anyone can remember. So little rain that the soil itself begins to crack. Then the sparks come. Some lit by human hands clearing land for cattle or crops. Others by accident, a single ember carried on the wind. And in these dry conditions, that ember finds fuel everywhere. Leaf litter that's normally damp is now crisp and brittle. Vines that once dripped with moisture now snap like twigs. Deforestation makes it worse. Every tree cut down leaves behind a gap where the forest loses its natural shield. Edges dry out, winds blow faster, and fires spread further than they ever could in a healthy jungle. Illegal logging and land grabs leave behind scars, open, sun-baked areas that act like fire highways. And then there's the changing climate. Hotter temperatures, unpredictable rainfall, and longer dry seasons have turned the Amazon into something it was never meant to be: flammable. The rainforest, once too wet to burn, is now vulnerable to the same infernos we see in savannas and scrublands. The first days are chaos. From the air, the Amazon looks like a sea of orange and black, flames twisting into plumes of smoke that rise miles into the sky. Satellites beam back images so huge and so devastating that they dominate every news channel on Earth. But on the ground, the reality is far worse. Towns hundreds of kilometers away are shrouded in darkness at midday. Ash falls like black snow, coating rooftops, roads, and rivers. The air is so thick with smoke that breathing feels like drowning in dust. Hospitals overflow with people struggling to breathe. Children, the elderly, anyone with asthma or lung conditions. In some cities, visibility drops to just a few meters, flights are canceled, and transportation grinds to a halt. Deep inside the forest, millions of animals are caught in the inferno with nowhere to run. Monkeys cling to burning branches, jaguars flee into unfamiliar territory, birds drop from the sky in exhaustion. Entire species that existed only in tiny patches of the Amazon vanish in a single afternoon. The sound of the forest, once a constant chorus of insects, birds, and flowing water, fades into silence, broken only by the crackle of flames. Indigenous communities watch their homes, crops, and sacred sites disappear in hours. The forests that have provided food, medicine, and shelter for generations are reduced to scorched earth. Many are forced to flee to overcrowded shelters, carrying nothing but what they can hold in their hands. By the end of the first week, the smoke has spread far beyond the Amazon. Brazilian cities like São Paulo and Manaus are choked with it, but so are places thousands of kilometers away in Peru, Bolivia, and even across the Atlantic in Africa. The disaster has become impossible to ignore. Months after the last flames die down, the Amazon is unrecognizable. From space, the deep green heart of South America has turned into a patchwork of gray ash and barren soil. The moisture cycle that once fed the forest is broken. Without the dense canopy to release water into the air, rainfall across the region collapses. The land that was once lush becomes brittle and dry, turning into something closer to a savanna than a rainforest. The carbon stored in billions of trees is now in the atmosphere, billions of tons of it. In just a few months, the planet's CO2 levels spike higher than any year in recorded history. It's like releasing decades of climate change all at once. Global temperatures rise faster, and the heat waves that follow are longer and more deadly. Weather patterns shift around the world. West Africa experiences failed monsoons. The American Midwest sees droughts that cripple harvests. Australia's already fragile water systems begin to collapse. The Amazon's loss sends ripples into every corner of the globe, touching countries that may have never seen a single one of its trees. Animals that survived the fire face a new struggle. With no canopy, the temperature on the forest floor can swing wildly from scorching heat to chilling cold. Food is scarce, shelter is gone, and predators move into new areas in search of prey. Some species migrate, others adapt, but many simply disappear. The soil itself changes. Without tree roots to hold it together, it erodes quickly under wind and occasional rains. Rivers fill with sediment, choking fish populations and poisoning water supplies downstream. Once the richest ecosystem on Earth, the Amazon becomes a source of dust, carbon, and instability. And the worst part is this. Unlike other disasters, this one doesn't just heal if left alone. It sets the stage for a new, drier, and more fragile ecosystem, one that may never return to the rainforest we knew. The loss of the Amazon is not just an environmental story, it's a human story, and it reaches into every part of our lives, no matter how far we live from South America. Without the Amazon's steady flow of moisture into the atmosphere, global agriculture takes a direct hit. Crops fail more often, not just in Brazil, but in some of the world's biggest food-producing regions. Soy, coffee, beef, corn, wheat, prices skyrocket. Food shortages become a reality in countries that once took full supermarket shelves for granted. Water security collapses in regions that depended on the Amazon's rainfall cycle. Reservoirs run low, rivers dry, and millions of people are forced to ration water or relocate entirely. What was once a rainforest disaster has turned into a refugee crisis. Families leave drought-stricken areas in search of survival, adding pressure to cities and nations already struggling with their own climate challenges. The economic shock is global. Exports that once fueled economies in South America vanish. Transport routes shift. Insurance companies pull out of high-risk regions, leaving entire industries exposed. Markets tumble, and rebuilding efforts drain billions of dollars that many nations simply don't have. And then there's the health crisis. With the Amazon gone, countless medicinal plants vanish before we even understand their potential. The natural pharmacy of the world is closed forever, taking with it cures that may have saved millions. It's easy to think of the Amazon as far away, as someone else's problem, but its loss touches our air, our food, our water, our economy, and ultimately our survival. Because when the lungs of the earth stop breathing, every one of us feels it. Could we survive the loss of the Amazon? Maybe. But the world that survives would not be the same world we know now. The forest would not simply grow back in a decade or two. It took millions of years for the Amazon to become what it is today. Without its dense canopy and constant cycle of moisture, the region would likely shift permanently into a dry, open landscape. The rainforest as we know it would be gone for centuries, if it ever returned at all. Scientists could try to help nature heal. Massive reforestation projects, seed-dropping drones, bioengineered plants designed to grow fast and store more carbon. But the scale is overwhelming. You can plant 1 billion trees, but if the climate they need is gone, they'll never become a forest. Some people imagine technological fixes, machines to pull carbon from the air, artificial rain systems to jumpstart the water cycle, even climate engineering to reflect sunlight and cool the region. But every one of these ideas carries risks, costs, and unknown consequences. The truth is, once the Amazon is gone, humanity would be playing a desperate game of catch-up, trying to replace something that took nature millions of years to build, while dealing with the chaos its absence leaves behind. And the haunting question would remain, even if we could survive, would the Earth still be a place we recognize? If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you want curious questions answered, have a look at some of our other videos.